What's going on, everybody? It's Mario from Highlighted TCG, and I got a quick double deck tech for you guys. I'm just pretty much finishing up the double deck techs that I didn't get to do since I am quite busy. But we're gonna go ahead and finish these up. Tomorrow I'm gonna be posting up Musica and Madoka. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and go straight into the deck profile here. So before I go into the list here, I kind of want to talk about just MC Lion and Card Jockey as like a whole. I do feel like their deck builds are fairly similar. I don't feel like there's a lot of diversity in between what they can build. I feel like they're very slotted into very selective cards. Which, like, in terms of like a competitive build, I just feel like you're forced to play certain cards, like stuff like Haniel and Good Dig. I feel like in any card jockey build, you have to be playing some capacity of these. Same thing with like Lancelot. So I do feel like the deck building is a little bit shot in between, like the diversity in deck builds. So that's why these two lists are going to be fairly similar. And when I do eventually do my Wolf update, it might look kind of similar in comparison as well. But yeah, just from my personal experience, I'm not a card jockey main by any means. That's just how I've discovered and how I felt in terms of the deck building process for these. So going over the Elric deck here, we have the MC Lion, the DJ Wolf Reverb, and the DJ LOVIT Crossfade. These are the two best level 2 assists that you can be playing. Reverb is very cheap. It came out just in this most recent set. Has the ability to be able to pop a 10k or higher, which does come up sometimes. Crossfade is amazing, being able to be a hard removal for anything, and then also being able to just crush a life path is like very, very strong. And then we have DJ LOVIT Scratch and VJ Wolf Laser. Scratch is just good. Scratch 2 is honestly a fairly decent consideration for this deck, because you're more likely to have one lane open than you are two lanes open, especially against like Nova. And Scratch can sometimes not work against Nova in like some rare scenarios, but I pick Scratch just because I think it's more consistent. And you would rather force a player to reform their board as opposed to just getting over two. But I do think Scratch 2 is perfectly fine. Laser is obviously very good. Just being able to have two selective enter of your choice is good. You usually want to hit ones. Moving on into the non-life, first we play 4 Zhao, 2 Eternal Influence, 2 Percival, 2 Shooting, 4 Lancelot, 2 Black Saddle, and then 4 PRJ. Zhao Yun's very obvious, not going to explain that one. Same thing with Percival. Having dual colors is very nice. We're playing the double Eternal Influence. This takes us over 2 slots of where Deafening Infernos would be. This just gives us a little more flexibility and a way to use our Exceed. These can also be Miracle Draws, I believe they're called, but I'm not a big fan of the card. But I do see a lot of lists that run it, so I do think it's a perfectly plausible card. I just not in my list. For Lancelot, once again, a very common staple for red decks. This is just a good card. Even though it's like a little bit more worse in this format, you're still always going to play it, especially for like the aggro mirrors and stuff like that. The double treating. So the reason why we're not maxing out on like Black Saddle and why we have like a split of these is because one, we need the green for reverb, and then two, because shooting can actually be added off Hanyo, which is really good. Especially on your turn 2, just being able to refund like your Hanyo and just having more ways to dig is really good. And so this being another option is very nice. And because it can come down on turn 2, it is a lot better in that regard. But I don't want to max out on them because the putting in the center is like the one downside to it, especially if you have like multiple copies. 2 Black Saddle for pretty much the same reason as shooting. We need the enter for this deck because this deck is very enter heavy, because you are paying like 2 for good digs and like Hanios every single turn, same thing with like Arc Winds. So you just want the enter charge. And filling out more green for reverb is just very nice overall. We also don't want to be maxing out on too many level 2s. And so yeah. Next we have the 4 PRJ. This is pretty much the main staple for card jockey decks. This is how you make your punchline a lot more aggressive. Field 2 of these, you're likely to at least stick 1, especially on your punchline turn. And against Nova, this makes guarding for them a lot worse, and it does start to eat up their enter quite a bit, even though they do have an abundance of it. But just being able to whittle it down more little by little is very strong. Yeah, moving on into the Life Burst, 4 Servant, pretty obvious. So the 4 Haniel. This is your main digging level 1. Yeah, it's a good trigger as well. You want to be maxing out on these, or at least between Good Dig and Hanios, you want to at least be running 6 copies in total, in my opinion. There are room for some flex spots, but I prefer running or maxing out on these just so you can see them as often as you want. 4 Good Dig for the same reason as the Hanyo. This is pretty much the main reason to play card jockey. This being able to be a selective +2 is very nice. And yeah, the trigger effect is also very good too. We're on the 3 Arcwinds. The Arcwind is pretty good. I'm taking like a split between the PM Light here. And Arcwind's just an overall like a really strong card. Just having Shadow anything is really good, and then the Pay 1+ is really good, especially helping you with the dig. You can set up really defensive board states with this and P and Light as well. And the trigger's just as good. Same thing with P and Light. The trigger's the same, and you are able to activate the spell effect quite a bit because you are already 8 spells. So you are always going to get the Shadow most often, especially when you filter. And that taxing effect can be really good against both the Mirror and like something like No Limit. And against Nova with like the combination of PRJ, you can just start taxing them a lot more out of the game. But I'm definitely not against like splitting copies of these in some capacity. I do think Arcwind is the better card. So you could run like a 4-2 split, but I do like the 3 split. Just seeing them more consistently is very nice. And it rounds up the level 3 lineup quite a bit. And then last but not least, we have 2 Deafening Inferno. Card's still great. It has a great trigger. But we do get to run Eternal Influence now, so we do get to have like a split copies of these. We never got the benefit because we're not on No Limit. But this card's still amazing. I have seen decks cut this or just like more Eternal Influence and like Miracle Jaws, but that's probably like the hardest point of the deck building process for this deck is just splitting the spells up and choosing which ones you want. I didn't mention it before, but we are running Go to the Top and Punchline. Go to the Top is just really good in this deck. Because you get to search something like PRJ and then also take their enter at the same time. So it just has like good synergy together. It helps you also fish out like level 1s in your deck if you're unsure like that of which ones are in your deck. You can use this to just to be able to look through your deck and maybe thin out the last one. And yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for this Lion build. There are definite changes you can make. There are something like the piece changes. You can also make this GGG. You can make it Xenocluster. You can make it you can like put an Osakitsune and play the Lancer piece. But to me, this is just what like a very standard MC Lion deck looks like. Just very clean cut on the ratios and stuff like that. I'm not a big fan of 1-ofs. I'm pretty known for that. I'm not really big on 1-ofs. But you can definitely run some 1-ofs if you want to be teching in some cards. But me personally, I just not a really big fan of like a lot of 1-ofs that aren't like too durable. But with Go to the Top, you can definitely fit like a lot of cool 1-ofs in here. Yeah, let's go ahead and go into the LOVIT build here. So once again, the build looks fairly similar, and that's once again that's just due to the fact that that you're kind of forced to run a certain amount of cards, and like I said, that's just kind of like a personal opinion. Some lists don't end up looking like that, but that's just how I feel about the deck building. So let's look at the Outrig deck. We're running the third verse, running Reverb and Laser. Once again, these are just the best VJ Wolf lineup because it's very cheap and cost effective, and Laser lets you selectively put in level 1s, which is what you want. Lion Dig is very strong as a level 1. The other one that lets you get another damage is okay, but the dig is just a lot better in this deck, especially since you're not at digging as much because you're running overall less white cards. Next, we're running the MC Lion buildup. So this is a card that not a lot of people are a big fan of because Disrespect does exist, and Disrespect is an amazing card. However, I have grown quite fond of build up, especially since I've been playing her and Wolf. The pay 2 to check top 5 for anything is very nice. We are running a fairly high white count in this deck, so we are able to resolve it even more. And it can stop 2 attacks, maybe. It usually just stops 1, but I do like just using this, stopping a level 2 attack, and then like adding a server, which is my preferred way of playing the card. And it's very cost effective for 2 enter in total. If you can use the I believe it's the pay 5 effect to bottom deck like a level 3 or trash a level 3. It's very good. But yeah, I'm very fond of this card. Disrespect will probably be the better card in this list in particular, but I'm just using build up end of it. And then once again for the piece, same thing. We're running Go to the Top and Punchline. Go to the Top is just really good. We can search our Nobunaga, our ERJ, or even our Stub, which we'll talk about later. But moving on into the main deck, for the non-triggers, running 2 Influence, 4 Percival, 1 copy of Stove, 2 Churden, 4 Lancelot, 1 Nobunaga, 2 Black Saddle, 4 PRJ. 2 Influence, same thing as the last deck profile, just very strong card, gives us when you succeed. 4 Percival, we don't need Zhao Yun's in this deck, so having the dual color helps us with consistency, especially with like being able to resolve something like Good Dig and PRJ. 1 Stove, this is my tech card. This can also be a Nobunaga, but it's if you have 1 or more spells, it's a 10k, and then if you have 5 or more, you can pay 3 red to gain Assassin. We're running 10 spells, so it's very easy to get there in terms of like having the 5 spells and drop, and it does cripple us by having another level 2, but the Assassin is just really, really important. Just being able to get another wave damage, and just for a simple cost of 3 enter is pretty nice. So far, this card has performed fairly decent. But once again, it can't be like something like a Nobunaga. I mean, Mars. We're running 2 Chuden. Once again, we're on the 2-2 split of Black Saddle and Chuden. I think this is just like the best lineup if you want to run any of these in this capacity. If you're running 3, I'd probably play 2 Black Saddle, 1 Chuden, but just being able to be added off of Haniel and being able to play on turn 2 is very good. 4 Lancelot, pretty self-explanatory. 1 Nobunaga, we do get to run this because we are running more red. And the pay 2 for Double Crush is just insanely strong. The pay 1 remove is really good. On a 13k body, this card is really good, especially in just like when you need it. You can give like go to the top into this and set up like kill turns. For PRG, same reason as the last profile. We just need to see this card. This is like one of our best cards in the deck. And it's even better because LOVIT is just sponging out so much of their enter. So you're able to keep this more safe unless they're like playing Xeno. Yeah. So for the triggers, for Servant, for Haniel, for Good Dig, we're running these for the exact same reasons as the last profile. I believe that you just need to run these in some capacity. Like I said, you can run like a 3-3 split, but I definitely wouldn't go down like to two copies of any of these cards. I just think they're that necessary. For Deafening Inferno, we get to max out on this because we're playing more red. You can easily cut 2 of these for more influence and then put in like 2 of something else in here, but this is just seemed like the better lineup for me. And then for these the 2 level 3s, we're running the 2 Tobio and the 2 Kagasuchi. We'll talk about the Kagasuchi first. Just being able to resurrect the level 3 is really strong. You can use it just to get 1 enter if you really want to, which is not something I do as often, but being able to resurrect something like a PRJ or even a Nobunaga is really important in this deck. And the trigger effect is pretty underrated in this deck. Not a lot of people see it coming because you don't usually see this trigger. You usually see the check 3 trigger a lot more. But being able just to resurrect something is just really good. And being more copies of our level 3s is very strong. And we're just running 4 level 3 reds to be able to round out our red count more. So we're not more in on weight. And then the last 2 copies are 2 Tobio. This is the really hard flex spot. It has the on play to ditch 2, draw 2, and then when it attacks, you can pump 2 things by 5k. So this one I took a little inspiration from a JP list that I saw running this. I think it was running it at 3 copies though. In this list in particular, this can help you thin your deck down because let's say you're at like 9 cards in deck. You can use this to go down to 7 and then Good Dig to see the rest of your deck, which is like really good. Card Jockey just wants to be able to get to like the least amount of cards in deck so that their Good Digs pretty much let you see the rest of your deck. So that's pretty much why I'm running the 2 Tobio here. I didn't think this card was going to perform as well, but just doing something like Tobio and then slapping a Nobunaga on top is like very good. It gives use to the Tobio and it lets you thin out some bad cards out of your hand just to see more cards, which is pretty nice. But yeah, that pretty much does it for the LOVIT list. Like once again, looking between both of these lists, they are fairly similar, but I do personally believe that these are how they like generally look like in like a competitive environment in like if you were to take these to like a tournament or even like a ceremony, these are how I expect this to look like. Just very generic down the line, running very like consistent with all the 4s and stuff like that. But once again, I'm no card jockey main, so I definitely don't know like exactly how these would be particularly built, but these are just what I came down to during testing, and these are the ones that have definitely worked out for me the most. But yeah, moving on to like the extra cards you can run. We just have a couple here. As I was talking about the pieces, you can run something like GG, End of Turn, Xenocluster, and alike. Other level 3 options is you can run more Black Saddle. Flopsy is a very good trigger option if you don't want to run Black Saddle because it has on attack enter charge 1, so you're not getting the enter immediately, but the on attack to be able to add something from enter could be really nice sometimes, especially if you just have like maybe a slightly more abundance of enter. Kome is really good in the MC Lion deck because this can enable you to have a 4th attack. I just couldn't find space for this, but you can easily take one of this in with the top. And then Miracle Jaw, once again, I'm not a big fan of this card, but there are a lot of people who do like this card. I'm not fully against it, but I just personally don't like it in my list. And then you can run Ishikishimaru's and Romels as you like. Ishikishimaru in like a more defensive way can help you against No Limit. And then Romel in a more aggressive format. I don't think it's the format for this one right now, but you can run this in future builds, like maybe even next format. Looking back at the deck list, let me know what you guys think about both of these deck lists. Once again, I'm not a card jockey main, so I would take any advice. And like, what would you guys change in these lists in particular? Like I said, I know there's a lot of people who are big fans of cutting down on good digs and stuff like that, but I'm just personally not. Yeah, we're gonna be go ahead and look at the next 2 decks, which is gonna be Madoka and Musica on I believe tomorrow. I wasn't able to get it. It was supposed to be today, but I just wasn't able to do it. But yeah, once again, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one.